The history of why Marty is here today was about a week ago. Al Veloci and I went to Marty's Museum in Bayshore, and we did a tour. And Marty graciously agreed to do this presentation for the group. And we said, Marty, let's go around your house and take pictures of your favorite things. That was a mistake because he's got like 1 million favorite things, you know. And then we said, well, tell us the ones that you have good stories about. He's got 1 million stories. So we have condensed the 1 million stories down to some of what I thought were really intriguing stories. And this is only a small highlight of what Marty brings to Long Island's racing history. You really have to go to his museum and really live it and get a tour, and Marty will tell you about when it can be done. Oh, then yes, and just if you looked at last night's VanderbiltCupRaces.com, News 12 did a little profile on Marty too. So if you missed it, go to the website, it links in there too. And again, it pays honor to Marty and what he's done. He likes it. He's a true gentleman. If there's a charity event that wants some racing history, Marty's always the first to go in and share. And that's the one thing about Marty, he does share. And he'll be sharing tonight some of his favorite things. So let's hear it from Marty Himes.
Okay, that's a picture of myself and Al Veloci in my driveway about a week ago. And the picture on the right is myself and Howard Parkway in one of the rooms in my house. And of course, you don't see any walls. There's one thing about it, we don't have to do any painting. There's no place to paint. Now we've got that, we don't have to paint the ceiling anymore either. I got stuff hanging from the ceiling now. Okay. Just a little bit of history. In July 1952, I moved from Merritt to Freeport, the home of the Freeport Municipal Stadium. And in July 1952, I observed the soapbox derby race at Freeport Stadium. Went home, built the first soapbox derby car with my father and my brother. And we went back to, when I got old enough to drive real race cars, about 1955, I started with a 1937 Hudson sedan, number 150. And then I became the track champion in 1962. And in 63, we moved into the sedan class, then the non-Fords, and then the top division, the modifieds. And in 62 to 65, I raced the 56 Ford Victoria at Freeport Speedway, Islip Speedway, and Riverhead Raceway. 1965, I qualified for the 100-mile stock car race, championship race at Langhorne, Pennsylvania, which is a pretty tough job when about 150, 60 cars show up from all around the country. Until 1972, I raced a 36 Chevy Coupe with a 396 Chevy engine in it. 1973, I returned to Islip Speedway as a flyman with the grounds crew. 1975, I started the Heinz Museum of Motor Racing Nostalgia in Bayshore. In 1989, I finished first in my class at a 1.7-liter Orky midget at Line Rock, Connecticut.
All right.
Now this here is a picture of my dad. My dad was in show business. He used to do a few crazy things. That's where I get some of it, I guess. He ate glass and flagpole sat and did all that kind of crazy stuff, you know. But he also owned a gas station, and that happens to be on Oceanside Road and Foxhurst Road in Oceanside. And that's back in 1926. I wasn't even around at that time. Okay. There we go. There's my first race car. We built that 1952 after observing it going on in Freeport Stadium. The show was put on by the Nassau County Police Department, the PBC they called it. So we thought that was pretty cool. So we went home in an hour or so. We built this car, myself, my brother, my dad. And not only that did we build it, we still have it. We raced it at Freeport, Islip, and Mineola Fairgrounds. Okay? Now this is when I was a little bit younger. I was in the trucking business back then. Now this is I was a little older. This is 1967, 68 at Islip Speedway. And yes, I still have the helmet. And yes, I still have the uniform. Now we're at Freeport Stadium. Now, see that Freeport Stadium sign? That was on going southbound on the Meadowbrook Parkway, exit M9. And so I got to have that, so I went to the highway department in North America and I told the gentleman who who I am, and I gotta have that. Or you're gonna give it to me or I'm gonna take it. Doesn't matter, it's going home. So I said, no problem. He sent a couple of guys in a truck right down here, took it down and gave it to me. So that's where that came from. Exit M9 by the Freeport Stadium. This Freeport Speedway sign was on Mill Road, right next to the main office, the ticket office on Mill Road. This sign here, if you were around in those days, every gas station had one of these signs out front. And because you had that sign out front of your gas station, Jake Kettenberg, Duke Donaldson would give you a free pass for 2 people for the entire season, just for having that sign out. Okay? That's the main sign on Mill Road. Now it's on O'Neill Avenue. It's found its way there, along with a bunch of other stuff. This is the main entrance to my driveway. The fences, the gates from Freeport Stadium, I have it all. That sign up there through this gate past the pedestrian drivers on Long Island, that was over the pit gate at Freeport Stadium. Every driver, every pit man, everybody who went into the pit area went under that sign. So that's a pretty famous sign. Here we go, the original ticket booth. There's another one right behind me. I not only have the ticket booths, I got the signs, the turnstiles, street signs, and there's a mannequin in there, we call her Arlene, because she was Arlene Campy, who was Don Campy owned the place at the end, and that was his wife. And she needs a little work. We got to dim the lights a little. But anyway, and here's my first car, 1937 Hudson 112, I ran in Freeport, and you notice I'm in the wrong place. I ran over one of them railroad ties. But I still posted a picture. That's amazing. Oh, there's another one, a year later, 37 Plymouth, I'm about to flip over, which is nothing, that was no problem. My brother did it a lot. That's not me, I didn't do that, that's another guy. Many guys did that at Freeport. As a matter of fact, George Brunhutzel, you probably heard of him, he had the record at Freeport, the all-time record, 9 flips in one season. So my brother, he didn't want to get beat by George Brunhutzel, so he went out and flipped twice in one night. Just to make sure. So he holds the record. And it can't be broken because it's not there anymore. Oh, this was a bad night. I can explain that crash. Coming down the main straightaway, off the 4th turn, heading for the straightaway, and I'm following Red Rayner, another great guy, number 393. Bruno Bracchi, another great guy, spins out the first turn, oil all over the place, he blew an engine or something, and here we come. I said, if Red Rayner don't stop, I'm not stopping. Well, Red Rayner did stop, because he got hooked on the Bruno's bumper and stopped dead and right on top of him. Flew through the air, took a telephone pole down, took the carburetors and everything right off the engine. But I didn't get hurt, I just got a lot of broken glass down my shirt. But other than that, okay. Now, just to show you that I was a little enterprising back then. While I was on the track racing, I had my brother sitting in this truck in the back with supplies for the rest of the cars. You know, tape and wire and batteries, whatever, oil, whatever you need. We had it in there and some other stuff too. You know, like beer, clams, you know, that kind of stuff. The concession guy wasn't happy with me, I know that. But anyway, we did that. And then we in 1963 in a 37 Plymouth. That division, they didn't call them modified, they called them non-Fords. No Fords were allowed in this division. 6-cylinder Chrysler engines. Okay? Uh-oh, now we go to the other track. This is a photo of Islip Speedway under construction. Photo was taken first turn, 1946. That's an aerial shot of Islip Speedway in 1962 when they added the figure 8. Oh, there's a story goes with this too. Any lawyers in here? Anyway, this was on Sunrise Highway and Freeman Avenue in Iceland. About 25 feet in the air, lit up with neon, but the kids broke all that over the years. So I went to the road foreman and we're going to widen the highway, and I didn't tell him my name, good thing. And he said, I'd like to have that. And he said, there'll be a lot of red tape, you know, a lot of insurance problems. That's okay. I went home, came back that night with a pickup truck with a acetylene torch, and I cut the red tape with the blue torch. I yelled one word, timber. And now it's hanging in my museum. And it's heavy too, all porcelain. Okay, this is just some miscellaneous signs from Islip Speedway, drag racing. Imagine going in a racetrack for $2. Maybe you couldn't even buy a drink for $2 today. This is my good friend Joey Chitwood, whose real name happened to be George, but that's the name stage name he used. That's 1958. You can tell by the 58 Chevys that are jumping over each other. And that's a rare poster. I only know know of 3 in existence, and I have 1, and I know where the other 2 are. This is Islip Speedway in the figure 8s when they did it on ABC Wide World of Sports. And there's a modified driver in that first car. Top driver even today, Wayne Anderson, Axel Anderson's son. And if you look back about 5 cars, there's another car with the same type numbers on it, but it's number 112, and that's Axel Anderson himself. So even he was in the figure 8 racing. There's a picture of him in the race in Islip in about 69 or so. Oh, this is him. See that announcer? His name is Mike Callaway, and that's the last night he was announcing at Islip Speedway on closing night. And there's his jacket that he's wearing in the museum with the microphone with him and his picture. So pretty rare. There's a nice big picture of the open house engine up there. Very rare motor. As a matter of fact, it was in Le Mans, France, that motor. It was built special. There's only 1 motor built like it. There's not even 2. It was specially built just for Le Mans, France. And then Briggs Cunningham owned it, and he had it built. And he's a famous sports car owner. And this is after we had a little flyer in the museum. Some guys tell me I had a little flyer. I don't think that was too little. But anyway, there's the original dashboard, steering wheel, and gauges that were there, and I restored it back to the way it was. So I'm happy about that. I wasn't happy about the flyer. And there's another number 25 I own. That's an open house and power engine also. And that's another open house and power engine driven by a famous guy named Johnny Coy. He won the 1959 500 in that car at Islip Speedway. Can you imagine driving 500 laps non-stop at Islip Speedway? He said he'd rather have been on the Daytona 500. It would have been easier because there's no relaxing at all at Islip. It was just always on the go. But I still have the car, and it's in real nice condition. It runs excellent. And these are all the quarter midgets, the kids. Back in those days, the kids got started racing when they were 4 or 5 years old. Real gas engines in these cars, probably Briggs and Strattons, most of them, but I still have about 5 or 6 of those cars also. Now, here's that same number 25. That Mickey Rooney's Weenie World. Anybody ever heard of that place? It was in Massapequa. It was a very short thing. I don't think he owned it, but he had his name on it, and because he was famous. But anyway, that's him and I together, and he's in my car, because they made that movie with him, The Big Wheel, 1949. And that's his helmet that he's wearing. I have it in my museum now. There's just a few more cars. There's a famous car, the Ace of Spades, driven by none other than Al D'Angelo. What a character he was. He was a real intimidator in racing. No question about that. Because on that car, when he had a problem with somebody on a racetrack, when you go in the pit to change a tire, whatever the reason may be, when he came out, there was an antenna on the side of the car. And he put a skull and crossbones flag on it. When he came out with that, time to move over. Because you're going to get moved over, one way or the other. You know, he's going to the front. So that was pretty good. The car next to it is Axel Anderson's car. There's another one there, a 41 Chevy, that's Walter Edsel. And believe it or not, these cars all need to be restored, but I can go right now and start them all right up and drive them. That's another car that I was involved in getting for this particular driver. We had a product, it was a policeman's car, and he used it. He was a New York City policeman, and he took it to the Babylon Railroad Station, and he took the train to the city. And when I found it and I talked to him, he said, "You got to promise me one thing. You will not make a hot rod out of it." I promised, and I kept my promise. It's not a hot rod. It's a modified. I'm going to lie. You know that.
Know about the wheels.
Oh, yeah. People want to know why there's a small wheel on the left. It's simple. When you're going to make all left turns, take a paper cup. It's small on the bottom, wide on top. Put it down and roll it, and it goes like this. That's the answer to that. That's a car I drove at Freeport in 1961. 37 Dodge. It still runs good. There's my other 56 Ford. That was on the TV the other night, that car. And people want to know what, on the movie, on the TV, where was I driving it? Well, we got permission from the state to drive it in Heckscher Park. They closed Heckscher Park, Field 3 down so we could make this film. Not this one, but the one we did on TV. And it worked pretty good. Now, here's a rare item. Back in the old days in Freeport, Islip, Island Gardens, Pine Brook, New Jersey, they had 3/4 midgets. And this was a tow truck for the 3/4 midgets and the big midgets later on. This was built, it's a 1948 Crossley car, cut down, you know, a lot of torch work, and there's a boom on the back. It actually runs and drives, and you can pick up a midget with it and tow it away. It needs to be restored when it's there. Now, when I started my museum, this is it. This is where I started, right here. I had nothing. I didn't even have, my own stuff was in a closet. I hung this picture on the wall, and look what happened. It's got a lot of company now. And it's still on the wall. And it's autographed by probably one of the most famous race car drivers of all time, Bill Schindler, which, by the way, only had one leg. And he lost it in the Mineola Fair race in 1936. But when he came out of the hospital, that year he won 53 main events, the next year he won 53 main events, and just went on, and he was unbeatable. And he finally got killed in 52. And there's a mannequin of Bill with his actual uniform, his actual helmet, his pants, his shoes, his crutches, his pit pass, and there's even one more thing. See the pack of Camels? He was a spokesman for Camel cigarettes. And he did a cartoon in Sunday newspapers also, called Bronco Bill. And I have all of that home, so that pack of cigarettes has never been opened. Now, here is a rare picture. That's Johnny Coy on the right, Lee Petty, Richard Petty's father, and Walter Bull from the Islip Speedway News. There's two trophies in the world, and they're both right there. Lee Petty has one, and Johnny Coy had the other. Well, I have one that Johnny Coy had. It's in my museum right now. And this is Sam Nunes, the promoter of Reading Fairgrounds, and she called me up and asked me if I would like to have that for my museum. So I drove to Reading, of course, and picked it up, and it's about a 75-pound trophy. It's beautiful. And that's a trophy from 1958 at Islip Speedway with Johnny Coy. There's a little story with this too. On 16th Street in Indianapolis, there's a big road that leads right to the Speedway. And on the side they have telephone, light poles, and they go out like so. And each one has a race car driver on it, except the short one. And it's two-sided. You know, when you're going down, you see Bonnie Oldfield, and you come back, it's Roger Ward on the other side of the roadster. But yeah, it fell down. You can't leave it there. Knickerbocker Canyon also right there. That's from the beer man at Freeport Stadium. He used to go up and down the grandstand with the Knickerbocker beer, Father Nick. I found that too. Now this is just you can't imagine what you're looking at here. There's no space wasted here. This is just one room, and it's only a small room. Right, Howard?
Yeah.
But there's so much stuff there. There's Mickey Rooney's helmet right there with the checker flags on it. And Al D'Angelo. Look at this. Cloth helmets. There's nothing I don't have. Armbands from the 3A who ran the midget racing and automobile racing up until 56 when they got out of racing. Uniforms at the steering wheel of one of my old cars that I drove with Islip. My uniforms are right behind it. There's a couple of them. And other pictures, Bruno Bracchi and so on. There's Bruno Bracchi's helmet sitting there with the Mr. Zip on it. He was a mailman. And the door of his car. Now here's another Crosley automobile, 48 Crosley, but it's a dragster. It does 131 miles an hour in 10 seconds. It's got a 429 cubic inch Cadillac in it with two 4-barrel carburetors on it. It came in Oneida, New York. The guy raced it up until the end of 2010 and donated it to my museum. Oh, here's another prize. When I went to Freeport High School, the days I went, there was a Sam's bike shop across the street from the high school. And I used to work there after school, an hour or two here, and they helped them assemble bikes. And there was a twin black Phantom, very rare bicycle, 86.95. You know how much money that is? Back in 52, we were making 50 cents an hour, you know? It was a month's pay. So because I worked there and helped put bikes together, he gave it to me for cost, $59.20. And I still have it, I still ride it. It has a key, a locking key that locks it so you can't steal it. If you just steal it, you're going to come right back. Because it's still locked in. But I still have it, it's beautiful. This is an album I showed Howard the other day. It's probably one of the rarest autograph books on earth. It has hundreds and hundreds of famous autographs. Wilbur Shaw, Bonnie Oldfield, every autograph is in there. Hundreds of pages. And that was donated to me by a man who was a real race fan over the years. We traveled all around the country going to the races, and he donated it to me. Along with a 26-foot, 6-inch letter that's over over 14,000 words long, and it's written by a blind man. I've never read it yet because I don't have enough time. Someday when I retire, I'll probably read it. Anyway, I still have it. More quarter midgets for the kids. Now, here's a rare picture. Shows I'm politically correct anyway. Whether you like him or not, you like me. That's what counts. That's autograph photo from Ronald Reagan, right from the White House. He sent it to me. It's still in the exact frame it came in. So that's on display also. This is a sign, Roosevelt Raceway. They used to hold Vanderbilt Cup races there. They hold midget races there. And these are signs, that's a tin sign. They used to nail them up on the trees and telephone poles to show you how to get to the track. And I have everything from those days. Here's a picture that there's a little story goes with it. There was a man in a nursing home. He lost his arm in midget racing, Eddie Marino, many years ago, back in '67, I think, in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And he was giving up his will to live. And he was Italian, and Mario Andretti was Italian, and both were friends. So when I walked into the nursing home one day, the lady behind the counter said, "I got some bad news for you." I said, "Oh no." She said, "Yeah, you know, he's still here, but he's given up his will to live. He won't eat. He pulls the tube out of him." I said, "I'll be back. I'll take care of it. He'll be up and around." She said, "Well, were you a doctor or something?" I said, "Don't worry about it." I went home, called Mario Andretti. I had his personal phone number. And I told him what I need. And Eddie Marino still had that Italian accent too. And he was coming off the racetrack, and you'd ask him, "What happened, Eddie?" He said, "Italians, they don't get the grip." You know, no get of the grip. So when I told Mario that I had a problem with Eddie Marino, he'd given up his will to live. So he said, "Oh, you mean no get of the grip?" He said, what do you want? So I said, "Come here, baby." He keeps bragging to the nurses and the doctors and janitor that he's your friend. And they don't believe. They say, "Yeah, another old guy talking, right?" He said, "I'll send you." So he sent me this the next day. It's all signed and a little story about Island Gardens and stuff in Hempstead when they used to race together. And I went back and put it on the wall in his room and woke him up and around. So it worked. Okay? Now, this is just partial stuff I have on Motor Parkway. I got probably 175 items from the Motor Parkway. And that just happens to be some pavement that I have that I dug up myself at the start-finish line, Orchid and Skimmer Lane in Livertown. Right there.
I did your homework.
You did my homework too.
Give the address of your museum, please.
Yeah, it's my address of the museum. I've been here many years, 38 years now. It's 15 O'Neill Avenue, Bayshore. It's right off Reddington Street, which is off Brentwood Road near the cemetery, on the north side of the railroad track. And my cards are back there by the table, and it's got a map right on the card, so you'll be able to find it.
Just south of Northern State Parkway on New Hyde Park Road is a condo complex. There's a bridge from the Vanderbilt Parkway still intact.
Yeah, there's a few bridges. Right, Howard?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a few of them. And of course, Howard and Al Balachi can tell you right where they're at. Because Howard has a book out, and Al Balachi has a book out.
I'm surprised you didn't steal them.
Talking to me?
I think so.
They'd say if it ain't nailed down, I'll take it. I have a claw hammer.
Good. Yes.
How many racetracks you figure were on one now?
Over the years, there was, I've authenticated about 43, 44. Now that means that it could be a straight run, you know, like the Vanderbilt. It could be drag racing, Comac Arena, the Island Gardens. It doesn't matter, as long as it's a racetrack. Now, in Bayshore, there was a horse track called Oakwood Park, but they ran cars there too. In Islip, there was another track, Willowbrook Park, where they ran motorcycles and cars. And we're talking about in the 20s. But it qualifies as a racetrack because they ran gas-powered vehicles there. And the first race, probably on Long Island, I'm not 100% sure the date right this minute, but it was on the Plank Road from Springfield to Babylon, I believe.
Like 1901?
1901, 1902. And the Merrick Road wasn't Merrick Road, then it was called the Plank Road. It was made out of boards from one side of the street to the other, from curb to curb. There were no curbs anyway, but I forget exactly how wide it was. But it was all, you were driving on wood, which is pretty incredible.
Yes, Mom.
I grew up in Valley Stream. When I was a kid, I belonged to these boys club. We used to go to Freeport all the time. And I remember you, I remember Racky. I have a lot of fond memories of that. Where did you get that Freeport Auto Races t-shirt?
Where did I get it? I had it made. I had them duplicated. We're out of them right now, but we do make them from time to time. We make them for Freeport. That's the most popular one we ever had. It's gray, it actually looks old. I was sitting in a restaurant one day wearing it, the guy walked in, he goes, "Stop short." He said, "I'll give you $100 for that. Where'd you get that?" They're only $15. I can make some more. But yeah, we do make them from time to time. Keep my phone number handy.
The 8 Mile Drags at
Yeah.
Islip Speedway.
Right.
Do you remember a guy called the Farmer?
The farmer.
No, I don't remember the names. I only actually went to the drag racing twice because I was involved in racing 3 nights a week with the oval. I only went there twice, but I know a little about the place, that's for sure.
Yes.
Do you have anything from Bridgehampton?
Yes. Signs, pavement, photographs, programs, got it all. You got to come to the museum with these questions, and we can help you.
Joe.
I remember seeing the signs in all the gas stations, but being a kid, never really sure when it started. I grew up in South Seaford, and I knew when the season started because I could hear the cars from Freeport coming
absolutely.
all the way over. And I used to run in the house and go, "Dad, Dad, Dad, come on, let's go, let's go."
And the lights, I remember the lights at night.
The
That was
lights
the
at
beginning of
Freeport
my
Stadium were
season.
incredible. They were 1,500-watt light bulbs, and there was 18 bulbs, 18 lights on every tower. There were probably 8 towers. That was something. They had a $1,000 light bill every night.
Do you have any lights from it?
Talking to me.
You got the lights.
Of course I have them. I have them all. I got them from Iceland. I got them from everywhere. When I go to a place, I don't leave without taking what I can. I got the chicken boots, the flagpoles, the flags, everything from Freeport.
Amazing.
But the sound was great.
You have a question?
Not a question, I was going to say that I grew up in Brooklyn. There was plenty of stations with the signs for Freeport. And my dad would go out there, it's like early 60s. When the races were over, everyone got in the car, thought they were race car drivers. So when they left the parking lot, it was very fun.
Yeah, it's worse now. Everybody's a race car driver. But real race car drivers don't do that on the street.
Unless you're Richard Petty.
We have respect for the automobile and the public too.
Did you ever get involved with Demolition Derby?
No. No, my brother did that, but not me.
No. We have somebody in the audience who did.
I know, he's famous, Bob Thompson.
Bob Tom, stand up, Bob.
Yeah, Bob.
Bob was the champion in 1976.
And his helmet and stuff is in my museum. And you can't have it back.
Who remembers Wide World of Sports, the Demolition Derby? Isn't it amazing?
Chris Economaki.
Chris Kanamaki, that was so much fun to watch.
That was great. It was entertaining.
Yes, Bob.
Just a question, do you have any, I probably asked you before, but for the benefit of everybody here, anything on Deer Park racing?
Yes, I have a whole photo album about that just on Deer Park.
Yeah.
The man that owned the property.
Sam Manganello.
Sam Manganello.
Yeah.
He was a race car driver himself. And I got parts of his car and everything. But he told me if the track was sold to a man named William Darragh from Babylon, who ran it 1 year, went broke. I got the signs on the gate that says track closed, promoter broke. So it was up for sale. Sam had a trucking business in the city, repairing trucks for the city of New York. And he had some cash in the bottom drawer because not too many people had cash in 1928. He paid $3,500 for that whole place, 26 acres. You know what that's worth? And he told me when I bought it, it was Deer Park, when my family sells it, it's Diggs Hills.
My first job as a kid was selling peanuts at Deer Park, 1947.
You got any peanuts?
No. A little stale.
You got your uniform, you got your belt for the money, you got anything? This is what we do, we save this stuff.
Joe?
Where was Deer Park?
Go up Deer Park Avenue,
Yeah.
north of the railroad tracks where Long Island Avenue is, a couple blocks, there's a road that cuts off to the right there. Diggs Hills Garden Apartments are there, and all the way from there up to the high tension lines with Loco, 26 acres.
We got a question in the back.
You got another demolition derby driver here, and his crash consultant.
Look at that.
Oh, I know who that is. Danny.
Identify him. Danny.
Danny Casey.
Danny Casey, Demolition Derby?
Absolutely. The best. The most colorful guy in the sport. He did crazy things. That's why they call him Crazy Danny. But everybody, the kids loved him. He had animals on the roof of the car. He put a cake on the roof of the car. He did all kinds of things. Everybody remembered Danny.
Don't forget the upside down lampshades too for velocity stacks.
No.
That's great. I'm glad you came out. Good. Any other questions? Good. Well, I have something for Marty. You know, Marty...
NRA.
You know, Marty, you know, you give so much. And let me get to the side over here. I've got a couple of things for you. First, I've got, let's see. Got one more thing.
Okay.
Hold on. There we go.
I feel better now. I'm going home with something too.
He has never left any place without getting something. So I got a little signed picture of you and me. It says here, to Marty, thanks for everything you do for Long Island racing. Enjoy, Howard Crumpler.
Oh, thank you so much.
I got a picture for Nancy of her and me and the policeman. And then, you know, when we did a tour of his museum, thousands and thousands of things. And I go, Marty, you have everything here. He says, well, there's one thing I don't have, and I've been looking at it for years. Well, your search has ended, Marty. We have here for you a motor Parkway plate. There's a citation here. It says, to Marty Himes, thank you for your many contributions to Long Island's racing histories. Howard Crumpler, President of Long Island Motor Parkway Preservation Society.
It's about the best thing anybody could get in my business. Thanks.
That I don't know. I think it's a 1932 plate.
31, isn't it?
Is it 31? 31. That's a 31.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And it didn't even have to fall off from someplace, Marty.
I tell you what, I've been waiting for this for a long time. 38 years. And you don't come across stuff like this. This is really rare. The only thing, I don't know what it could be rarer than this. Maybe an organ grinder.
But I knew you wanted it.
Oh my God,
You
made
got
my
it.
whole thing.
There you go. Good. But Marty, we really appreciate everything he's done. Like I said, a true gentleman. He really shares what he has. And I just really love this guy. And just keep doing what you're doing,
And
Marty.
I would hope some of you folks would come see my museum and tell your friends to come see my museum. You know, I'm not getting any younger. You know, really, we need to show it. We need people to see it. Not just talk about it. We want you to come and see it. You'll be impressed.